suffering, and attain bliss, and in birth and death, and quickly realize number. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Namo sadanto sujedoye ulahadi samya samputoche.无上甚深微妙法，百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。The unsurpassed, deep, profound, subtle, wonderful Dharma, in 100,000 million eons, is difficult to encounter. Now that I've come to receive and hold it within my sight and hearing, I vow to fathom the thus come one's true and actual meaning. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Today is March 21st, 2015, and we're about to start our Avatamsaka Sutra lecture. I'd like to invite everyone to please take a look at the front of your sutra text in front of you. There is a title that's written in Chinese on the bottom. It says, 南无大方广佛华严经华严海会佛菩萨. So what we do is we begin our lecture by reciting the title 7 times. And it's a chance to invoke the name of the sutra as well as the accompanying Buddhas and Bodhisattvas that surround the text. And one thing I always like to contemplate is you're actually inviting all those kind of spiritual energies into the hall. So it's a chance for us to kind of expand the mind and kind of welcome that Avatamsaka spirit. When we touch the sutra, you'll definitely get this flavor of it. It's another way of seeing the world than we usually see the world. That's very, very expansive. So if it's nothing else you could think of, it's a chance for you to open up your mind, expand your mind. Okay, so we'll chant it, and once you get the rhythm and the tune, please join in. Namo Davang Guang Vo Hua Yan Jing Hua Yan Ai Wei Vo Bu Zai Namo Davang Guang Vo Hua Yan Jing Hua Yan Ai Wei Vo Bu Zai Namo Davang Guang Vo Hua Yan Jing Hua Yan Ai Wei Vo Bu Zai Namo Davang Guang Vo Hua Yan Jing Hua Yan Ai Wei Vo Bu Zai Namo Davang Guang Vo Hua Yan Jing Hua Yan Ai Wei Vo Bu Zai Namo Davang Guang Vo Hua Yan Jing Hua Yan Ai Wei Vo Bu Zai Namo Davang Guang Vo Hua Yan Jing Hua Yan Ai Wei Vo Bu Okay, so good evening, everyone. Welcome to Berkeley Buddhist Monastery. This is, as I said, March 21st, 2015, and we're about to start our Avatamsaka Sutra lecture. If you could please open your book. Tonight, Jingfo would like to start on page 28, 29. I think we have a couple new faces here on the Avatamsaka Sutra lecture. To give people some context, this sutra, called the Avatamsaka Sutra, is also translated as the Flower Garland Sutra. The Avatamsaka is a Sanskrit word, so if it's not familiar with people, it's okay. It's in Sanskrit. Most people probably are not familiar with it. But what it means is the Flower Garland Sutra, and it's said to be like a flower garland because the sutra has many, many principles, like a flower garland. And all these principles are strung together on a string to make a garland. So if you can imagine people going to Hawaii, they get like those little flower garlands. They have all the little flowers on it. And so in this teaching, in this sutra, we'll see there's lots and lots of principles strung throughout. And if you're coming in just in the middle of the sutra, it's fine because each of those flowers, if you can just pick up one of the flowers and find it useful, that's good enough. That's the spirit. If you can find one of those principles and you can use it in your life, and see how it makes sense, that's good enough. And there's some of the flowers you might not be able to appreciate yet because maybe you look at it and it doesn't have the right color or the right shape for your affinities, your potentials. That's no problem. Somebody else might find that flower very attractive. I think when people come to the Dharma, you really find out everybody really sees things very differently. And the Buddha was very aware of that. And in his teachings, he basically said there's 84,000, meaning limitless types of teachings for all the limitless types of people. And it didn't say, this is just one fixed way of saying it, this one fixed principle that everybody has to accept, and this is the truth. He said, basically, we have this awakened nature, and he actually didn't want to say anything at all because he thought to really explain this deep, profound principle that we have this awakened nature fundamentally within, to actually try to explain it to people, people might get confused. So in the end he spoke, and he spoke simply to teach to the potentials of people, the potentials of living beings. So it's not like he already had it all thought out already, what he was going to say. He saw the potential and he spoke to the conditions. So this particular sutra is spoken to the great bodhisattvas. The bodhisattvas of right now we're on the 6th ground, so in the bodhisattva who is a being on the way to awakening, to uncover his nature or her nature, he's right now on a very high stage actually. He's on the 6th ground of the 10 grounds. So basically he's gone through the first 5, now he's on the 6th ground, and he has 4 more to go until he hits the 10th ground. And then he has another ground or another stage called equal enlightenment, and then wondrous awakening. And that's the stage of the Buddhas. So he's got just a couple more stages to go. He's almost there. And so we're right now studying what it's like to be a bodhisattva on the 6th ground. So this is what we're doing. The other element that might be useful for people if you have some Buddhist background is there's something called the 6 paramitas. I don't know if that's something people are familiar with. The 6 paramitas. And usually it's a gift. It's a list of prince or virtues that the bodhisattva cultivates, starting with generosity, then with morality, shila, then with patience, vigor. He's very vigorous and energetic. And then on concentration. Now we're on the 6th one, which is prajna, wisdom. So he's on this ground of wisdom. And so we'll get to that on today's sutra. So I want to give some people some context for the teaching tonight. As I said, if you're completely new, if you just pick up one principle that's useful, that's enough. If you can just take one principle, reflect on it, and find it useful, that's enough. It's not, the Buddha Dharma is not like the internet. You know, you kind of click all around and get all this information and try to overwhelm the mind. The Dharma really is something, if you can just learn one thing well and really apply it in your life, then you really can go long. You can really make it your own. Okay, so want to start right here? So where we're going to begin is on the second paragraph on page 28. We went over a lot of text last week, and so we're going to review a little bit of last week and then move on. So we're on the second paragraph of page 28, which starts with 于诸佛所. So that's where we're going to start. And then we're going to go all the way to page 30. 要不要念中文？要不要拿 the microphone? My Chinese isn't so good, so I won't hurt you with my bad pronunciation. So Jing Fo Shi will say the Chinese. So after he says the line, we can repeat after him, just giving the sutra text a chance to enter our minds and our hearts.
我们上礼拜已经讲完了到30页了，所以今天我们会讲到完的，那下一次就开始寄诵，就读寄诵，一句一句的。所以佛经，我觉得我们多读非常有益处。温故知新以外，他所写的文句都很美的。所以我们今天就从28页以诸佛所，因为已经读过了，我想大家一起读，我们读到30页的那个第六地现前就可以。这个就上一次讲完了，那后面我再带着大家念，一句一句的念。好，我们就一起读，然后英文等一下也一起，我看一起读就好了，因为会省时间。
翻译一下。So this sutra text we went over last week, but I feel that this text is very valuable to be able to recite because these ancient texts have a wisdom that goes very deep. So it's a good practice just to recite the sutras, but since we recited this portion before already, I was thinking that if everybody could recite the Chinese together, that would save us a little bit of time. And then when we get to the new section on page 30 that we haven't gone over yet, we can recite it, you can call it call and response. So we'll recite a line and then the audience can recite a line. So we'll recite this part in Chinese together.
好请合掌，我们一起读。以诸佛所恭敬听法，闻已受持，得如是三昧，智慧光明，随顺修行，一持不守，又得诸佛甚深法藏，今以百劫，今以千劫，乃至无量百千亿那由他劫，所有善根转更明净。比如真金，以比琉璃宝树树魔银，转更明净。此地菩萨所有善根，以复如是，依方便慧，随逐观察，转更明净，转复寂灭，无能隐蔽。比如月光，照众生身，得令清净，四种风轮，手不能坏。此地菩萨所有善根，以复如是，能灭无量百千亿那由他众生烦恼是火，四种魔道，手不能坏。后面30页，此菩萨十波罗蜜中，波罗蜜偏多，宜非不修，但随力随分。佛子是名列说，菩萨摩诃萨第六地现前。OK， 英文的。
So we'll recite the English together. We begin with in the presence of. In the presence of all those Buddhas, he reverently listens to their dharmas, and having heard them, he accepts and holds them. He obtains the samadhi of true thusness and the light of wisdom, and accordingly cultivates. He remembers and retains them and does not abandon them. He furthermore obtains the treasure of profound Dharma of all Buddhas, passing through hundreds of kalpas, passing through thousands of kalpas, up to and including limitless hundreds of thousands of kotis of nayutas of kalpas. All of his good roots become ever brighter and more pure. This is just as true gold, when repeatedly polished with the gem Vaidurya, becomes ever brighter and more pure. All the good roots of the Bodhisattva on this ground are just the same way. Through his use of wisdom of expedience to accord and contemplate, they become ever brighter and more pure, evolve towards still extinction, and cannot be obscured. This is just as the moonlight shines on sentient beings' bodies, bringing them pure refreshment, and the four wheels of wind cannot destroy it. All of the good roots of the Bodhisattva on this ground are just the same way. They can extinguish the raging fire of afflictions, of limitless hundreds of thousands of kotis of nayutas of sentient beings, and the four kinds of paths of demons are not able to destroy them. This Bodhisattva among the 10 paramitas stresses the paramita of prajna. It is not that he fails to practice the others, but he only does so according to his power and proportionally. Disciples of the Buddha, this is called a general discussion of the Bodhisattva Mahasattva's ground of manifestation.
好，我们继续念中文，我们就一句一句念下去。菩萨至此地，
菩萨住此地，
多做善化天王，
多做善化天王，
手作自在，
所作自在，
一切声闻，
一切声闻，
所有问难，
所有问难，
无能退取，
无能退取，
能令众生
能令众生
除灭我慢，
除灭我慢，
深入缘起，
深入缘起，
不施爱语，
不施爱语，
力行同事，
力行同事，
如是一切诸所作业，
如是一切诸所作业，
皆不离念佛，
皆不离念佛，
乃至不离念具足一切种，
乃至不离念具足一切种，
一切自治，
一切自治，
复作是念：
复作是念：
我当以一切众生中，
我当于一切众生中，
为首为圣，
为首为圣，
乃至为一切自治依止者，
乃至为一切自知依止者。
此菩萨若勤行精进，
此菩萨若清行精进，
以一念勤，
于一念勤，
得百千亿三昧，
得百千亿三昧，
乃至示现百千亿菩萨以为见熟，
乃至示现百千亿菩萨以为眷属。
若以愿力自在示现，
若以愿力自在示现，
过于此数，
或于此数，
乃至百千亿那由他劫，
乃至百千亿那由他劫，
不能数之。
不能数之。
好，英文。
So we can read the English together. The Bodhisattva who dwells upon this ground, for the most part, becomes king of the heaven of good transformations, and acts with comfort and ease. No difficult questions asked by any sound hearers can cause him to submit. He can bring sentient beings to eradicate pride and deeply enter, arising from conditions. In giving kind words, beneficial actions, and similar deeds, all the karmic actions he performs are not separate from mindfulness of the Buddha, up to and including not being separated from mindfulness of endowment with all wisdom, the wisdom of all modes. He further makes the following reflection: I should, among all living beings, be a leader. be supreme, up to and including being one of wisdom of all wisdom, on whom one can rely. If this bodhisattva practiced with diligence and vigor within a single thought, he attains hundreds of thousands of kotis of samadhis, up to and including manifesting hundreds of thousands of kotis of bodhisattvas as his retinue. If he employs power of bodhisattva vows to manifest at ease, he surpasses that number, so that in up to and including hundreds of thousands of kotis of nayutas of kalpas, the number could not be counted or known.
好，现在我们刚才读过的，我想我们稍微做一些复习，好像是那个刚才有读过四种风轮，然后就有产生四种的病，四种风轮，他所讲的就是讲起来就是春夏秋冬，然后四种病呢，就是春天的病，然后夏天的病，秋天的病，然后冬天的病，然后这些病魔呢，就是它都可以没有办法不能够坏的，所以这个是六地菩萨的一个他修行的成果。那这个当然像春天就是就是讲起来就是烦恼魔，然后为什么讲烦恼魔呢？它就是因为我们在家人就是都想能够很顺心，然后怎样子都很称心，但是其实这个就是一种 这个就是一种好像有一点贪爱，这个就会产生烦恼，所以这个就是一种烦恼魔。那夏天呢，就是讲起来，因为就是有肉风，然后就讲起来，它是讲夜魔其实就是我们讲的就是病魔，就是烦恼炎烦恼热，这个是一种病，也是一种魔。然后秋天呢，就是转凉了，那就好像我们种稻子成熟了，要收割了，要把它收起来收获那这个就也是一种会产生一种死魔。据我所了解，你知道我们在法律上尤其是在中国、台湾，甚至于东南亚，到秋天的时候，我们都会有一种政令就是说所有的那个要解决一些刑案，所以就一些死刑的时候，就是在秋节，它名字叫做秋节，就是在秋天的时候，就是要解决掉这个，所以这个就是一种死魔。然后那个现在到冬天呢，冬天就是非常寒冷，然后寒冷的话，这个来自于就是大天气，所以这个讲是一种天魔，所以这个四种魔，你说六地菩萨他都没有不能够坏它。
So we'll do a quick review of last week's text. There's one section we spoke about last week, which were, if you look at the bottom of page 29, it says the four wheels of wind cannot destroy it. So these four winds are associated with the four seasons, those of spring, autumn, winter, summer. And the four paths of demons, you can say the afflictions or sicknesses, all come from these four seasons, these winds. You can relate those in that way. So these four winds, those of spring, autumn, winter, summer. If you look at, for instance, the affliction of springtime, you have the wind, and it's related to you could say the demon of afflictions. Afflictions are you could say, worries, problems, and so forth. And if one's at home and taking care of a business, we want everything to go smoothly, everything to go well. And so these end up to having us have a lot of afflictions. This is the springtime. And then during the summertime, there's actually a lot of heat. There's a kind of a hot wind. And this leads to illness and sickness. So you have this demon of sickness that comes in the summer. And then you have autumn time. And this is considered that of the harvest. And in Asian cultures like China, Taiwan, maybe Southeast Asia as well, and some of these countries have like the death penalty, people who have capital punishment. And so when they have the consequences of the law of the government, is oftentimes they do the kind of what you call the death sentence in autumn. So that's why it's associated with death. And this is the demon of death. And then finally, there is the winter time. And the winter time is the weather changes drastically, and it's very cold, and it's the sky kind of changes. And so this is associated with the demons of the heavens. So these are the four demons. The four demons are those of afflictions, those of sickness, those of death, and those of the heavens. Okay. So just to give a little bit of context for the four demons. So in Buddhism, we often talk about this word, which is, we call it the demons. And they're, in the Western, I think in Western culture, we don't really have this word come up too much other than in the kind of religious context where there's God and then there's something that's demonic. Within the Buddhist tradition, in fact, you could say the demons are those who come to cause problems in our cultivation or give us suffering in our lives. And they're seen as oftentimes internal. There's kind of, you could say, demons inside. And what are demons inside? It's given here, the first three. Those are our afflictions. Afflictions are those of such as greed, hatred, delusion, pride, kind of mistaken, deluded views, seeing things unclearly. Those are these afflictions of the mind, afflictions of our inside. And then we also have the afflictions that are the demons that we can see, in our everyday lives. Those of sickness and death. Those are the next two. And so those are something, when we experience sickness, we're not very happy, right? Our bodies stop working, we get very afflicted, and we're just waiting for our sickness to leave. We really have that, if it's a bad sickness, we really feel it. The next one is death. And I think as people know, we just had a memorial service for a Dharma friend in the monastery today. And I think people know, actually, to be honest, I was sitting there at lunchtime, I saw right across from me, I think one of the family members, she was crying during the memorial service. It's been, I think, 40 days since the person has passed away, and I can see still in her heart, there's a grief for somebody who passed away. And when people pass away, especially loved ones, there's a sense of, there's some grief, there's some suffering. So that's the third one. And the fourth one is considered that's more, you could say, external. So in Buddhism, we do also talk about kind of the demons that are in the heavens. They're not, and there's a little bit, I think, if you relate it to Christianity, there's a little bit of maybe some parallels, but there's a sense that these energies are outside and they sometimes come in and cause problems in our lives. But one thing I really like about Buddhism is that these kind of negative energies in the world, in fact, also in the future will wake up. So there's one text I always thought was very a little bit funny. Was there's a demon, kind of the demon king in Buddhism is called Mara. He is the one the Buddha right before enlightenment came down and tried to challenge the Buddha. He had his demonic armies come and try to scare the Buddha. He had his beautiful daughters come to entice the Buddha and seduce the Buddha, and the Buddha was unmoved. His mind didn't move, and subdued the armies, subdued the beautiful daughters by showing them, their permanence in terms of their bodies will one day grow old and withered. And so he subdued them all. And then Mara goes, I didn't defeat the Buddha. So he retreated. So, but one of these sutras discusses Mahamagdhyana, and he's cultivating. And this is one of the Buddha's great arhat disciples. And so Mara comes and disturbs his meditation. And then Mahamagdhyana immediately sees Mara and then pulls him out of his body and says, get outside. and then Mara goes, how did you find me so quickly? How did you know I was here? And then Mahamagdhyana's response, I thought, was just classic. He starts scolding Mara. And he says, Mara, you're evil because you're my nephew. In the past, I was your uncle. And, I was actually a very bad Mara. I caused this other Buddha a lot of problems. I had to suffer a long time for it. So you better watch out because you're heading the same direction for what you're doing. Then now I'm actually an arhat. I'm actually awake. So I'm free. But you've got a long way to go. So be careful. So I thought, I was like, that's an interesting response to Mara. So here's an arhat disciple, one of these great exemplars, seen as the Buddha, one of the Buddha's disciples was the foremost in spiritual powers. And he's scolding Mara, who is the king of the demons, and saying, I in the past was also the king of the demons, and I was your uncle. Like an uncle scolding his nephew, right? Uncle scolding nephew. And saying, in the past, I was doing these bad things, and I ended up suffering for it, so you better watch out. So for me, what that shows is this kind of dynamic quality of the Buddhist tradition, that there's no kind of ultimate evil. There's nothing that we would look at and say, this is really somebody who's really, really evil. Or even when we look inside our hearts and we see something that we don't want to look at, we've done something really bad, or there's something inside that we feel really unhappy about, that in Buddhism, the quote-unquote evil is just confusion. And if we could just shine our light of wisdom on it, here the Bodhisattva is cultivating wisdom, you shine a light of wisdom on it, it just opens up to the light, and the darkness and confusion just disappears, because that was just false, that was not real, and it just goes away. And so this quote-unquote demon king, Mahamagdhyana, in the past, from his cultivation, woke up and become an arhat. So that to me was a very inspiring story. So in the sense of the spirit of the demons, you have the demons that are inside, which I think we can often see in our own lives. Then we also have these more, you can say, external demons on the outside. But I think to just contextualize it, even these negative energies outside are not evil per se. They're just confused. And one day they'll wake up as well. And we use these opportunities when they come to test us. They say the demons come to test us as a chance to improve ourselves. They're just helping us test our patience and grow in our spiritual cultivation. Okay. Yeah.
谈到这个魔啊，其实修行，你修行的时候都会产生，你修的功夫有深一点，他就来试探你，所以大家有修行的时候。像这种发生的时候，就要非常注意，或者是给你很多的境界，给你很多的烦恼，怎样子？像在我们生辰也有过这样子的发生的这个事情，就是说你像我们修了1-2年以后啊，那真的会有境界来。在那边，然后你很多境界他在考你，要考你，这个除了说外面的最重要，因为就是有发生过一个事情，我把它讲出来也好。我们有一个那时候是算沙弥的时候啊，我们修行了一段时间以后，来了，发生。真的警戒来了，就给你考你的时候会发生什么呢？什么东西都不对，你这样子他都有意见，就变成人的一种跟往常就不一样了。那不一样，为什么发生这个呢？甚至于 很多法师劝他也不听，方丈劝他也不听，他就是要叫实法师去，他才要听。到最后就没有办法，就请了法师，那我们的实法师去跟他开导。其实这个是我们自己内心，就是跟他点破一下，你自己修行啊，要往内看，不要往外看。看到什么人都不对，看到什么这样子都不行。人坐在我旁边他都不行，就是很非常的那个 picky 就对了。那这个就是不对了，因为以前没有这样子啊，后来就这个境界来了。那真的师父去跟他开导以后，就慢慢就好了。这个也是真的，只是一个内心的一个转变。所以你真的有修行的话，都会来考的。有时候是自己考自己。
So when we cultivate, and the more we cultivate, oftentimes we get more tests. There's these tests come to test your trueness in your cultivation. And so I've seen this at the 10,000 Buddhas, our main monastery, and this happens to people, especially after the first couple years of cultivation. We have, various states, you could say, come and affect us, or all these various afflictions come to bother us. So I remember when I was a novice in the 10,000 Buddhas, after a couple years, one of my fellow cultivators got into a state where, looking outside, everything was wrong. Doesn't matter what. If the person was sitting next to them, they get upset. Just don't want them next to them. Kind of the person was very, very picky. Doesn't matter what, is upset. And it was a state, because before he wasn't like this, but all of a sudden he developed this state of mind. And everybody would try to help him and try to explain to him, but he wouldn't take anybody's advice. He said he only listened to Reverend Heng Shi. So Reverend Heng Shi had to come and speak to him. And then slowly, he kind of let go of his state. And so I've seen that, in the cultivation, you can easily have states come up and you get tested. Oftentimes it's just ourselves testing ourselves. It's just us trying to work through our own cultivation.
Yeah. Okay. 因为我们这个第六地菩萨后面就金刚章，他就唱偈颂，偈颂完以后就结束了，所以他就这个第六地菩萨呢，就是现前地菩萨，他当然他修行就是修智慧，然后就十波罗蜜中波罗蜜，他偏多就是先把智慧佛的智慧修好了。然后其他的随分随力，这个随分随力，我们也是要注意这一句话，它这个对我们在家人修行也是很有帮助。真的，我们像在修行啊，你把自己抓对重点就可以，那其他的你就随分去做就可以。那你像有的每一个人修行有他修行的法门，那其他的法门就是随分随力就可以，这个很重要。我们不要去讲其他法门怎么样子，这个有时候很容易发生这个，因为像尤其是在济世道场里面这个常常会发生你念佛了，然后他参禅他就不高兴了，这个发生太多了。他像我们以前那个道场一样的，他不高兴以后他当了会长以后不高兴以后，他以后就不来了，不来这个就是不来这个佛教会了，所以就产生说没有不够心量不够大，不够宽容。像我们圣尘来讲是非常很好的一个六大宗旨，不争不贪不求，这些真的在能够做好这些就真的是够用的。那很多地方也是很容易发生这个问题，常常一直都是没有看自己，都是看外面都是在那里讲东讲西的，这个太多了。这样子只是把它讲出来，这个很重要的一个 把握自己回光返照自己，随时这样子是非常，因为你这样子做，你像第六地先前，他就是一个，他常常想回光返照自己的真实本性里面，都是就发觉他是非常清净的，用他目前他修行到就是他的一个智慧现前，所以第六地现前就是现前地就是他真正的一个真实静心的智慧现前。
So we are going to be finishing this section of prose very soon. It's on page 31. I'll be finishing the prose, and then next time we'll have the verses, and then we'll have the finished. That'll be the end of the sutra for the sixth ground. So today we're on this ground, and this bodhisattva is on the ground of prajna paramita, the ground of wisdom, or the paramita of wisdom. And he says here as well, it says that it's the top of page 31. He stresses the paramita, but it's not that he doesn't practice the others, but he only does so according to his power and proportionality. So what that means is that he cultivates the dharma door of the prajna wisdom as his primary practice, and the other ones he accords with them when they come up, and it practices to his ability. So this is also a very important principle, especially with those cultivating, as at home, not in the monastery, but when you're at home, is that basically finds the principle and hold on to the principle and cultivate. And then as the other principles or other dharma doors come, you can just accord with them as you're able. Don't try to do too much. Don't try to force things. Otherwise, that will lead to difficulty. So, for instance, one of the things I observed was that sometimes somebody can really get attached to their Dharma practice. They think that, for instance, somebody might have Dharma practice of reciting the Buddha's name. And then when in the monastery we have some meditation, Chan meditation, they become very unhappy. They get all afflicted and they get so upset that they never come back. They think, I don't want to do Chan meditation. And so I've had this experience when I was in the Buddhist Association before. And this shows that the mind or the heart of that person isn't very expansive, isn't very open, and has become very narrow. And that's not what we want to cultivate when we cultivate the Dharma. It's the Venerable Master, the Siddhartha Buddhas, gave us 6 principles. These 6 guiding principles are not fighting, not being greedy, not seeking, not being selfish, not pursuing personal advantage, not lying. So these 6 principles are really our foundation. So we don't want to end up fighting or getting very narrow in our views. So I find that this is actually very easy to happen once one starts to cultivate, is that one kind of, doesn't have their mind so broad anymore. So this happens because one starts looking for problems outside rather than really reflecting within and seeing into our own hearts. Because this is really where true wisdom comes from, is from reflecting within and uncovering our true nature, which is pure and clear. And then our wisdom manifests. Our wisdom can become apparent. Yeah. So one thing, this is actually a very important principle, because I think oftentimes coming into, any religious tradition, there's a tendency to hold on to views. There's a sutra that the Buddha says, in the world, worldly people in the world, they are attached to money. They run after money, get afflicted by holding on to our money and not wanting to let that go. It says, but religious people, what do? Ascetics and Brahmins, they attach to views. So we don't have any money to attach to, so what do we go for? We go for views, And so that view is, I have no money, so therefore I'm more pure than you. That's a view. And so attached to the view, it gives us a sense of solidity and identity. And so the Buddha really, really cautioned from attaching to views, because they end up causing us a lot of afflictions. And so he taught in the Eightfold Path, he said the first one, if people know the Eightfold Path, is that of right view, of basically having the correct way of seeing things, a kind of a wisdom. And what he outlined, there's a lot there, but I don't want to go too much into it, was basically when we hold and study the Dharma, we're not holding on to the Dharma to create an identity. We're holding the Dharma in a skillful way so that we can find a way out of suffering. So he says, there are some people, he gave a really graphic analogy. He gave that of a snake. He says, imagine a water snake. And people know the snakes in the water are the most poisonous snakes in the world in the water. He says, imagine there's a water snake. And the water snake's like the Dharma. And there's some people who hold the Dharma like they hold a snake by the tail. And so what does the snake do when you grab it by the tail? It flips around and bites you, right? So he says that's not the correct way to hold the Dharma. That's not the correct way to hold the snake. He says, how you hold the snake is you hold it by its head, right? So it doesn't bite you. So he says, similarly, when we hold the Dharma, we need to hold it properly. If we hold it by the tail, and he says, how do you hold it by the tail? Is when we take the Dharma and we use it to bolster our own views, to make our own kind of views stronger, and then to debate against other people. You know, I'm right. So be like, I got an argument with Jing Fosher or something. I go, you know, I'm right. I got to look in the sutra and find my principle. Okay, I got my principle. Okay. And I proved my point with Jing Fosher, right? That was called holding the Dharma wrong. And that Dharma comes back and bites me. He says the skillful way is we use it for liberation. And we hold on to it very gently. And at one point, we let it go. We don't hold on to it. And so I think that's the spirit when we talk about what Jing Fosher was talking about a moment ago, is that there is a tendency, especially when we just start on our cultivation, I had it myself, so it's you just be patient with yourself, is in the beginning, you hold on to it, and because it's new, you hold on to it very tightly, and sometimes with this sense of identity really strong. You know, I'm right. And then what that causes is a lot of affliction for yourself and the other people around you. And I think in the beginning, maybe we hold a little bit tightly, but then hopefully if you're cultivating, you can slowly relax your hand and let it go. You know, you're still holding the Dharma, but rather than holding the Dharma like this, you're just holding it very gently and relaxed, you know, in your heart and your mind, and you start cultivating. And that creates a lot of openness and expansiveness in the heart. And actually why I really like the Avatamsaka Sutra is we're not reading, I think you get a little bit of flavor in this sutra right now, is that there's an expansiveness of the heart to encompass everything. It's not a narrow perspective that's being presented. It's an open heart. So that's really important. And the sutras, I think, are our guides and our spirit to move us in that direction.
OK， 下面我们开始就进入我们今天主要的那个我们研究的地方，就是说菩萨住此地，这个是新的今天的经文，多做善化天王，他手作自在，这个是一个他所修行后所得到的一个，像给他一个结果，或者是给他一种 title 也好，或者是给他一种 power 也好，这个都是很不错的。这个我们都可以想象得到，做天王啊，做什么王啊，这个很不错的哈。好，我们稍微，我们六地的他是多做善化天王，那五地的呢？五地的菩萨南圣地呢，他是斗率天王，斗率天的天王，然后那个四地的延慧地呢，他可以做耶摩天王，都不同的，其实讲起来就是这个都还没有出异界，都还是在异界里面。然后那个三地的发光地菩萨，他可以当忉利天王。忉利天王我们就知道说33天啊，第4天啊，天主啊，然后那个 二地离垢提菩萨呢，他可以当转轮圣王，转轮圣王。像我们的仙公上人，他也提过，他当过转轮圣王，他提过这个。所以转轮圣王呢，他有一个那个一个宝。金轮宝，他骑了金轮宝，很快的去可以看到四大洲，就四大洲都可以看到。再来就是初地菩萨呢，欢喜地呢，就是阎浮提王，他可以当阎浮提王。阎浮提王就是比较，就是我们阎浮提上，我们也算阎浮提的那个。讲另外一个叫做金州，那就是他是管这个，所以每一个王他管的地方都不一样。
So this bodhisattva, so we're starting that sutra text we didn't cover last week. So this bodhisattva becomes a king of the heaven of good transformations. And so you can say that being a heavenly king is not bad. It's a good place to be. You can say you have this title, you have this power. Of course, the bodhisattva is not greedy for the position, but he has the ability to be this stage because he can transform living beings. So that was my commentary. But in addition, the bodhisattvas before, on each of the various grounds, it says on the 5th ground bodhisattva, he's in the Tushita heavens. The 4th ground bodhisattva is in the Suyama heavens. The 3rd ground bodhisattva is in the Triamshimsha heavens. And this is the heavens that we know of, called the heaven of the 33, where we say the God is there, the kind of the ruler we often refer to. And then the 2nd ground bodhisattva is we call it a world-turning sage king. And this world-turning sage king can go around in Buddhism we say there's these 4 continents, and he can ride one of his you could say, what would you call it, treasures, one of his precious items that he has, that he can go on his vehicle. Is a really good vehicle. He's got this, like a spaceship. I don't know how to describe it, but he can go everywhere in these 4 continents and watch over and govern everything. Our teacher, actually, Master Hua, said in the past, he was also the wheel-turning sage king. He remembers in the past at one point. And then he said the 1st ground bodhisattva is that of a king of Jambuvipa, which is our world. We're on the continent called Jambuvipa, and so this king is the ruler of this land. And so you can say each of these kings have different areas of responsibility.
再提一提啊，像欢喜地阎浮提王，他是掌管正法。你看就教导人民要修善、修正法，他就是注重在这个正法修行。那离垢地菩萨呢，转轮圣王，他就是安住在十善道。大家要做好，大家要往十善道去做。这个而且你做好，他就尽量鼓吹所有的。因为他到过处去看啊，辅助那个所有的众生啊，就是在十善道方面。那发光地呢，他以善方便，他就是第4天啊，他就用以善方便来领导众生，给所有的众生呢都能够离贪欲，然后也一样的助于善道。最重要就是他是算叫人家离贪欲的。然后宴会地呢，他就是他统领大众呢，就是能够这个宴会地呢，他是非常算非常快乐。都一直在快乐，然后都甚至于在修到这里，他就是非常甚至于唱歌，然后用于善方便，然后 使众生呢能够令住在正见上面，他的一个统领大众的一个重要方针。另外南圣地呢，就是斗赛天的天主，然后是他统领天众呢，常令他自己跟他人都常意念知足，然后就是常常自己觉得很满足，然后住在非常真理上面这样子。然后你看我们现在第六地的这个，他很经文上就是能很自在的，然后他的能够使一切声闻所有问难呢，他都没有办法把他问倒了，就是没有，他也不退却，所以能够令众生呢除掉我慢这些他的主要的算一个他的方向这样子。
Okay, so each of these bodhisattvas on these various grounds, as they act as the king of those various realms, have different things they do. So for instance, the first ground bodhisattva on the ground of happiness, he's the king of Jambudvipa, and in the text, in the sutras, it says that he's helps those beings learn the proper dharma, the right dharma, so they can cultivate. And then the wheel-turning sage king down the second ground, the ground of leaving defilement, or leaving dirt or filth behind, he helps living beings practice the 10 good deeds. So he helps people and teach them the 10 good deeds. The third ground of emitting light, of radiance, maybe you could say, he teaches them with great skill and means, with skillful teachings, so that they leave behind greed and craving. So they leave behind greed and craving. The fourth is that of blazing wisdom, the ground of blazing wisdom. And he's in the Suyama heaven, where everybody's very, very happy. And so they might even break out in song and live a very pleasant and happy life. And he teaches them proper views, the right views that what I just talked about, is in terms of the proper views. The fifth ground is that of difficult conquest. And he's in the Tushita heaven, and he teaches them contentment. They're very, very happy and content. Now, on the sixth ground, this is the ground where the Bodhisattva's the king of the heaven of good transformations. And it says here that he's actually with complete comfort and ease. I think it's probably zidzai, right? Zidzai. Sometimes it's translated as effortless self-mastery, meaning that he's completely able to do whatever he wants effortlessly. He's got a complete mastery over his mind and his body. He's completely free in that way. And he here says there's no difficult questions asked by any sound hearers can cause him to submit. So nothing can, no challenges to him will cause him to be, you could say, beaten. He won't lose in any debate because he's got true wisdom. And then the last line here says that he helps living beings eradicate their pride and deeply enter arising from conditions. So this is a little bit tricky English. Deeply enter arising from conditions in maybe in more English than just that English would be, or unpacked would be, he helps living beings like ourselves basically understand the 12 conditioned links, which we've been going over in great detail this whole chapter, which is dependent origination, how everything arises from conditions. So if we look through this process the Buddha gives us, he gave us a very, you could say, scientific way of understanding our lives and how everything happens. And so basically, step by step, he shows us how we got to be what we are now, how we get to be what we're doing now. And so if people are interested, I think that was maybe 3 lectures ago, we had something that was very, very detailed, going over the 12 links of dependent origination. So the Buddha helps living beings understand, enter, study, and ultimately realize these principles. And what that does is, one of the things it does at least, is it eradicates pride. Because pride, or you can say this kind of self-conceit, often comes from thinking that we're really great, we're really special, we're some special stuff, and when you contemplate things just arising from conditions, we realize we really can't be that arrogant. Just very practically speaking, although it's not exactly from the 12 conditioned links, if we just reflect on all the people who made it possible to be who we are, that we're here in this world, our parents gave birth to us. If people sometimes don't like their parents, but at least they gave birth to us and fed us so that we're still alive today, right? If they didn't give us food, we probably wouldn't be alive. And then not just that, but all the people who taught us, supported us, so that we're here being who we are today. So how can we be really prideful and think we're the best or the greatest and look down on anybody else, when for us to just be who we are has so many conditions to make it possible for who we are, what we're doing. And so bit by bit, we can lower our pride, is if we can see this conditioned nature of everything. Everything is this interconnected web, and we can't really say, somehow I'm special, I'm different, and I am better. Or oftentimes in Buddhism, we also say pride can be in the reverse, or I'm worse than other people. I think poorly of myself, a kind of this negative self-image. Ultimately, because we kind of see how everything comes from conditions, we don't attach to this self, this thing I have to hold on to, and I can just interact with the conditioned reality of the world in a very natural, flowing way. And that's how the Bodhisattva is completely at ease and completely a master of everything, because he has no self that comes into contact with things and hits something with a kind of force. He just goes right through and is effortless. Nothing sticks to him. He goes right through. So that's a really good principle to contemplate. If you can see if we can have that kind of effortless ease in our lives. Yeah.
OK 下面就是还有一个句子很重要，就是不思爱与力行同事，这个是四摄法，这个非常有用。这个我们不管出家在家，甚至于其他的世间上也都在用这个法，这个是非常有用的。为什么？它是你像有人有困难就布施他，假如说他没有得吃的，我们给他吃。你看，像这个故事很多，他都很感激的。然后我们爱语就是用不是就是要用很和蔼的语言去对待人家，人家一定不是用骂的或者是用激将的这个很重要。爱语，爱语你讲话讲的，人家听得很高兴，这个就是爱语。你不是说你都常常臭脸这个都不好的。然后力行就是跟他力行讲起来就是给他一些利益方面的一些行动，然后这个当然跟他后面同事，这个也是很重要。你像夫妻也是同事，这个讲起来，这个像我们也是同事，跟净传师是同事，那你们其他的也是同事，跟以后在一起修行都是同事，这个很重要，就是要和这样子非常重要。夫妻也是一样，当然夫妻的这个更要非常的讲，就是要能够用和睦敬爱这互相很重要。甚至我讲以前有说，你像对于讲出家的事情那有 当然也要看姻缘啊，姻缘没有到的话，也不成熟，当然也不要勉强。所以像夫妻之间的那个也很重要。像我自己在小孩子来美国以后啊，他们还在上学，我就跟我的同修就讲说我要出家，哦，不行，那时候我孩子他们也都不赞成，那我就停了。然后那时候是来美国，我说啊，全部都安顿好了，公司都处理好了，各方面都那个不行。我想这个很重要，就是说要互相能够达到互相的，所以我就变成一直拖到快60岁，然后才再提出家。哦，他们就很高兴了。那时候，大学博士也都读完了，他们了，所以那个就没有什么负担。然后他们也很高兴我能够出家，就这样子。所以这个是讲起来，这个都是这个应用上啊，这个很重要的一个。其实讲出家，丈夫出家，其实妻子她也有可以得一半的功德。你妻子出家，丈夫出家，不管谁出家，另外一方都是得一半的功德的这个殊胜的这个事情。所以我顺便提一下。
和睦敬爱，睦是什么？
和睦就是
睦是
尊敬，睦就是
calm， 睦 harmony， 和也是 harmony， 睦也是 harmony。
Yeah.
A compound. 敬爱 okay, but then respect and love. Yeah, okay. So we have next line talks about the 4 practices of the Bodhisattva to gather in living beings. The first one is giving. The second one is kind words. Third is beneficial actions. And the fourth is similar deeds. So these 4 are very, very useful, regardless if you're living at home or if you're at your work. Even if you're just having a business in the world and taking care of worldly matters, these 4, you could say, practices of gathering in living beings is used all the time. So how do they work? The first one is that of giving. And for instance, if somebody is in want and needs something, for instance, if they're hungry and you give them food, they become very happy and very grateful. And so it's one way you create a positive affinity, a positive connection with them. And for instance, the next one, which is kind words. We don't go and scold people. You know, when somebody comes and has a difficulty or we want to help somebody, we use kind words, gentle words, so that when they hear us, they're very, very happy. We don't have a kind of an ugly face and kind of look very fierce and scare them. We're very gentle and kind. And that way, and that also gathers in other people. You know, people want to be our friends. They want to connect with us. The third one is beneficial actions. What this means is we do things that help other people. You know, we're just not out for ourselves. We actually, somebody nearby, we do things for their benefit. And so that is also a way that plants this kind of positive relationship between people. The last one is similar deeds. So what similar deeds is pointing at is kind of like colleagues or people who do similar work. So for instance, as monastics, we are colleagues or doing similar deeds. So we actually have a chance to draw near one another and support one another. The other is, for instance, like a husband and wife. They're oftentimes together a lot. And so that's one way that one has an affinity. Or everybody here in this Buddha hall today, all being fellow cultivators. We're all kind of in a similar, we're doing similar work, cultivating the way. And so this is what's really important though, is that we maintain or we cultivate this sense of harmony and respect among us. So there's a phrase in Chinese which is 和睦敬爱. And so these 4 characters express these values that of being harmonious and peaceful, respectful, and you can say kind and loving, a kind of this loving kindness. And so Also, when one leaves home, these principles are also very important. Generally, you don't want to force it. For myself, I remember when I came to America with my children, and they were still small, and we all came to America. I remember telling my wife that I was interested in, I wanted to leave home. I wanted to become a monk. And she was not very supportive because she said the kids were still small. And so I said, okay. And so, many years later, I took care of all my work. And so I left home when I was pretty much close to 60. And at that time, my whole family was very supportive and very happy. My daughter had already gone to college and finished her college and had her PhD. And so everybody was very supportive and very happy. So I got to leave home when I was more elderly. But everybody was very happy. So this is what I would say. And in terms of leaving home, you could say maybe half the merit and virtue also goes to the spouse. So for instance, the husband decides to be a monk and leaves home. The other half of the merit, half of the wife would also receive, how do we say it? Not saying half gets split half. It's, half of the merit and virtue, they would also accrue a lot of merit and virtue as well, because they're able to let go of their spouse to be able to let them cultivate the way. So being true for if the husband leaves home or the wife leaves home. So that's one thing I just want to share.
好，下面经文再继续。如是一切诸所作业，不离念佛，乃至不离念记住一切种、一切自治。所以这个是很重要的，也是很重要一句，不离念佛。真的，我们常常念佛，这里，所以真的我们当然其实讲起来，念佛不只是光念阿弥陀佛这个佛号，其实念佛啊，阿弥陀佛是很好，我们专修这个是很狭义的讲，其实念佛，它这个念佛是很广的，讲起来是要讲广的方面。你像我们听经也是念佛，真的我们在研究佛法也是念佛。你做佛事、厨房也是，其实也是念佛。讲起来都是坐办公室、踢道场，在看 AO， 这坐办公室那边也都是念佛。你去修理清洁、修理马桶，那些都是念佛。真的讲起来都是念佛，这个是广义的来讲，就是做佛事来讲。所以当然你工作的时候，自己的信念要保持在正念，这个很重要。只有这样子正念，然后你什么叫要不理其他的念呢？当然很简单的，你念阿弥陀佛号，或者是念任何一个佛号都可以，念菩萨、观音菩萨、地藏菩萨都可以，仙公上人都可以。你只要把你的念头放在正念上面就可以，这个都是叫做念佛，这个是很广义的一个念佛，所以我们也希望大家能够了解一下这个。
So here the text talks about how the Bodhisattva does all these things is not apart from the mindfulness of the Buddha and all the other things. So we talk about mindfulness of the Buddha, so that's very important, mindfulness of the Buddha. And this mindfulness of the Buddha is not just reciting Amitabha Buddha's name. You can make mindfulness of the Buddha much broader in the scope in terms of meaning. For instance, if we are here listening to the sutra lecture, that can be considered being mindful of the Buddha, because we're here studying the Buddha Dharma, the Buddha's teachings. If we're working in the kitchen to cook for the Dharma assemblies, that's also, you could say, being mindful of the Buddha, because we're doing the Buddha's work. If we're watching the office and supporting the monastery, that's also the Buddha's work. If we're just doing repair, if we're repairing the toilets and repairing the monastery and helping the Dharma go, that's also being mindful of the Buddha. And when we're doing all this work, we want to maintain this proper mindfulness so that our minds don't just wander around. And we can do that, the best way is you can recite the Buddha's name. We can recite Amitabha Buddha's name, but if you don't do that, you can do other practices as well. For instance, you can recite other Buddha's names or Bodhisattva's names. For instance, you can recite Guani Bodhisattva or Earth Store Bodhisattva, or if you want, you can even recite Venerable Master's name. And that helps you keep a proper mindfulness. And so this is one way you can say being mindful of the Buddhas as a very broad, kind of expanding the meaning to have a more broad range of practices.
OK， 在下面再继续。我当以一切众生中为首为胜，乃至一切自治为依止，这个就是他一个修行方式。此菩萨若勤行精进，以意念勤，他就能够得千百亿三昧。这个是他所修行的一个成果，这个给他的。然后能够做百千亿的这个菩萨为眷属，能够以百千位菩萨的为眷属，因为这个其实这个是他的愿力示现，自在的示现。这个讲起来所以这个经文就已经快结束了。再以此是乃至千百亿由他皆不能够数诸，就是我们要真正要去讲这一些，要去算这一些呢，是算不清的，是不能够知道数目这样子。所以今天的经文可以大概是到这里，然后后面呢，我们有准备一些我们在今年初到现在，今天是2月1号。2月1号就是我们刚好今天初一，就是过了1个月。我们给大家看，等一下会放一些影片给大家看。我们今年来，我们 BBM 的一些所作所为，就是讲起来，我讲了一个这个题目，就是在羊年，这刚好今年羊年，普通讲。三阳开泰，而且我们这是一般的讲法。那我们今年刚好2015年，所以我讲五阳开泰，五阳开泰，化佛影，就是化佛影，就是像我们做佛事的一般的做佛事的一个影片一样。那我用话日，其实也可以用讲话的话来谈一谈我们做佛事的一些事情的经过。当然我们刚好有这个用那个感化的话或者教化的话，因为我们是先化上人的话，所以我就套用这个化佛影。所以等一下我们就马上可以看影片这样子。
Okay, so what we have is the next part of the sutra text talks about not being separate from the wisdom of all wisdom, the wisdom of all the modes. These are the wisdoms of... Okay, can you turn off that? Okay, yeah, because they're on the same frequency. The all wisdom and wisdom of all modes are the wisdoms of the Buddha, so he's always going in that direction towards the Buddha. He currently has the other reflection that he should be the leader, supreme, up to including being one of all wisdom on whom others can rely. So this is one of his aspirations. I won't talk about this right now because our time is up, but I think one of the things to reflect on, I always thought was an interesting thing was, because a moment ago he says not having pride, but then this reflection seems to be very kind of not exactly prideful. So what's the principle? Right? He's saying that he wants to be kind of a leader, be really the one that people rely on. So he's not doing it out of pride. So what is he doing it from? I think that's something that people can reflect on. Because I think it's something that we often talk about when we're trying to do work in you could say the Buddha's work, or here working in this association at least. We always talk about you have to work really hard but completely be unattached. And it's like, how do you do that? Because usually when we work really hard, we get really attached, right? So it's kind of like, where's the middle? How do you find that middle way inside? And it's something that's inside, it's not something outside. So you have to find that in your own process. Then it talks about the Bodhisattva practiced with vigor, and he's able to enter hundreds of thousands of samadhis. These are, you could say, states of absorption and concentration. He's able to really focus his mind and enter these profound states of absorption and concentration. And he's able to manifest hundreds of thousands of kotis of bodhisattvas as his retinue. Retinue being all those people who surround him. And he's able to then manifest at ease. This is again probably self-mastery. He's able to, be kind of the effortless self-mastery. And then if he has the bodhisattva vows to manifest this self-mastery, he is able to even have more samadhis and have more retinue of bodhisattvas. So this is just a conclusion for this portion of the text, which is the prose section. And then also what I'd like to share is a slideshow of some of the activities that we've been having in the monastery, and also going off to the Berkeley Monastery, went to other areas to do some, you could say, sharing and supporting other events. And so there's a verse, I think Jing Fosher wrote, that this year, people know in the zodiac calendar is the sheep year. And so I'm not really sure, my Chinese background's not very good. So there's, I think, something called 3 sheep, and there's something called ram. You can say maybe it's ram. It's a ram as well, I think. But there's 3 sheep or ram, and so I think there's something in the Chinese culture that says something about 3. So then Jing Fosher says, 2015, you made it 5. So 5 sheep. And that you use this sheep to transform, to do the Buddha's work, or to kind of make the Buddha's movie or mark. And so he has this movie that is kind of a movie in words to do the Buddha's work. So we'll have that movie right now. We can do both still. Okay. Yeah. What kind of webcast? If people are interested online, you can see what the Berkeley Monastery does outside in the area. So I saw some of the pictures. It's a lot of fun, and Jing Fosher was doing a lot of work. Yes, please. Let me turn off mine. 1 second. Go. Yeah, yours on. Yeah, it should work now.
Amitofo Fa Shi.
Avatamsaka.
I have a question regarding the text. The text say, 一切声闻所有问难无能退屈. So no difficult question asked by any sound hearers can cause him to submit. So why the text only mention about the sound hearers? Is that because they are very good at asking questions?
Okay. 声闻缘觉，因为这样子这一品是讲12因缘，12因缘的修法，就是其实讲起来就比较靠近声闻，他看到所有的变化就你像声闻，他去深山里面看到树叶变了，他马上就悟到了。所以这个讲起来，这品12因缘，他也是看到他的12个12因缘里面，他马上也是知道说所有真如性净，那个都是空的、空性的。我想，所以这个是他修行的这个因为每一个地的方针都有一定的，因为本来我是想要讲，因为时间上每一地的他修行什么东西，没有时间讲，所以等下一次，大概就这样子。假如有不够那个，我们可以再研究。
So this particular text has always been, this particular ground has been describing the 12 links of dependent origination in great detail. So these tend towards more of the kind of teachings on emptiness, this kind of seeing how everything works. and is a little bit more connected to the sound hearers. And so, so maybe this is why their sound hearers are brought up here. And so I probably can't go into too much detail right now because of the time. So maybe in the future we can also investigate together. Just one thing I just want to point out is that if you look on page 27, it talks about that the Bodhisattva has 10 minds to follow the Bodhi of the Buddha. He has one which does not fear other theories. So I think it's not to say that it's just sound hearers in general. I think he's got a fearless quality to answer anybody's questions. But it's particularly listed out sound hearers, I think as Jean Forscher says, because we've been talking a lot about the emptiness teachings. And so if you can imagine, if we really don't see emptiness truly, and a sound hearer who actually has seen emptiness to a certain extent very deeply, were to ask us questions about it, we wouldn't know how to respond. So he's got wisdom, he can respond. Yeah. Okay.
有问题当然也可以写 email。
You can also write email if you know our email addresses. If you don't, that's too bad. You can type it on our online chat box or leave a note in the monastery. Give it to one of the residents here, where you can look into it. Actually, just as a note, questions is very important. That's actually how the Dharma gets requested. So I really would encourage people to have your mind of questioning on when you listen to the Dharma. Say, does this text make sense? How does it work? And maybe you'll cause us to submit because we can't answer the question, but at least you're asking questions in the mind. Yeah. Yeah, 有了. You can tell. This picture is not that focused, so it's just this picture particularly. But it has the verse on the side. Yeah. On the left side, you'll see. 五阳开泰化佛营，就是说我们在今年羊年这一个开泰，就是一个新春很好的开始，然后我们 BBM 的一些做佛事的这个影片啊，或者是影子啊，都可以解释。Oh, you have to. Oh, okay. So the verse says the 5 sheep or 5 rams, which is 2015. This sheep here. Kai is start. I don't know what that next character is. Tai is what? Peaceful. So they're starting very peacefully. This year starts very peacefully, and we're transforming, teaching to do the Buddha's, you can say movies, making Buddha movies, Buddha's movies, or going out and doing things with the Buddha's work, kind of the marks and the appearances of the Buddha. It also has the idea of movie. The movie of the we're doing the movie of the Buddha. Okay. The image of the Buddha. Yeah. So we talk about we're doing the Buddha's work in a dream, right? So we're doing the Buddha's work in a dream, in a movie. Yeah. So this is a couple of days ago. Just a couple of days ago, we had our Amitabha retreat. Yeah. Yes. So everybody looks very happy there, So that, yeah. Under the light of Amitabha. Yeah. If this is a very good picture, The Kaya do very good job. That is a very good picture. Yeah, everybody there. So, yeah, the Yihuan looks higher behind. Yihuan, yeah. Too short. Hiding out. Okay, otherwise everybody is pretty good. Okay, this is Auckland, Michael is the conductor. Oh. Music. Okay, this is that. Oh, James. James did that. Okay. This is in Auckland, so pretty good. Everybody, to
good 是算什么？奏我们的 orchestra，因为我们在奥克兰得到非常好的那个评语，他给我们圣城特别的那个，你知道他的壁画上面的，我们圣城画在最上面的，他那个谁为人家画的，这个那时候没有照下来，这个对我们圣城非常的评价很高。
They're very respectful to us.
Lucy walking,
Lucy.
Okay.
Lunar New Year.
New Year. How to say that?
Mark's Vietnamese is pretty
the
good.
last one, the last one. Yeah, so New Year. Yeah, everybody can pronounce their Chúc mừng năm mới. Yeah, so very good. Oh, this is, so everybody walking there for looks, yeah, we had a lot of people coming, looks, yeah.
Is that food?
Yeah, those
food.
bowls.
So yeah, food is very attractive.
Yeah.
We've got the giving, the first practice, giving food. Yeah, that's definitely brings people.
Yeah, make a spring roll. Yeah. Hey.
What's this?
Spring rolls.
Spring rolls.
So they can eat right away there. Okay, same thing, making spring roll. Everybody busy there. Same thing, yeah.
Making the Berkeley community making spring rolls. So people are hungry again.
Yeah, they smile, walking and smile, pretty good. They're happy. So make everybody happy. She happy, everybody happy too. Oh, okay, go make.
Making a movie, the Buddha movie.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, looks very traditional dress, very good. Okay.
Oh, Jun has the movie camera now.
Okay, they doing decorates. Okay,
Julia's going for a
table.
Go for the table for what? She's getting extra height.
This is like a新娘子 Yeah. The couple.
We got similar work. This is the fourth principle. Similar deeds. Married couple. I don't know who that other person is. Is that Oogie? Oogie? Oh.
Yeah.
He was at Oakland Center?
Yeah, this is Korea. Korea. He is, flu.
Yeah,
very good. Yes, some Malay friend. Sometimes
he brought actually, that really is similar deeds. This is definitely a principle of similar deeds. He's a fellow classmate of Marek in English school.
Okay, this is Jiang. Looks he smile there too. Okay, with calligraph is Aaron, to have how he can write in there.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
that's a very nice picture.
Okay, that you see that the family, the parents have the kids writing, so it's very good. Work together. Okay, this is something we select Zen very easy. Zen just too slow and the mind. So it's very, the Zen we need to watch our mind too. So hard. It's very good, easy to write in. Yeah, another girl. Yeah. Yeah. So we really is very good spot, and everybody like to try to write in. Dinner, did not help the people. Yeah.
I understood it was the good spot was because the food booth
Yeah.
was right next to them. So the food, and the next one.
So you see, every kid's different, you know. So a lot of kids coming, you know, and Susan have that. Yeah,
It's got really big hair.
yeah. These two.
Wow.
The hair is just different. Yeah, you see, that is you know, the parents have together. It's very good way. When I young, my parents do that too. Yeah, this is good.
Wow,
right?
she's got some
Yeah.
samadhi.
Yeah.
That girl's got some samadhi.
Okay, this is two lady, or right in there, sit there a long time. So
More
you
patience.
sit, yeah, right in that, you know, have them, that two lady. Okay, there's still a lot having help, you know.
Look at Jing-san.
You know that parents make a picture. They're happy, you know, for memory later. You know, so that's this one. Yeah. So I think it's very good for the kids. You know, they have a chance to learning writing Chinese, and also it's very good. You know, let him to 播种子 is very good.
This bozong means planting some good seeds.
Yeah.
So they get a chance to meet some kind
Okay,
words.
this is another one. Yeah, writing. Oh, this is Kevin's grandpa. Yeah. Oh, he writing a long time there, never stop. he writing 4, you know, Buddha, and he like Buddha too, you know. So.
Diligence and vigor.
Yeah. Okay, that another Aaron help. Okay, go other spot now. So this is Yihuan spot. Okay, that.
Yuan spot.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, very happy and respect and very, you know. Okay, okay, this is a whole group there, you know. So, yeah. Okay, this is CTV. They have a big booth there too. You know, booth for doing some Chinese art. So this is a special for the new year. A lot of people coming. Oh, okay, this is different. This is go to other place now. This is San Jose. Yeah.
This is San Jose.
Yeah, San Jose. This is San Jose now. Okay, San Jose. They're doing taiko dancing, same thing the high school kids, but not our high school kids. Not CDTV, they're different school. Yeah, you see the kids, they dress pretty good. You know, stand there. So, yeah.
Poor boy.
Okay,
Not very happy looking.
this is go to our booth now. So, what is the name? Steve.
Steve.
Yeah,
His name is Steve.
Yeah, he. I think visit CDTV too. I think here too.
Yeah. Comes pretty often.
Okay, this is our booth, San Jose booth. Yeah. This year, only one booth. Maybe I talk to Kochen next year. Maybe we need 2 or 3. So we can do calligraph there too, Chinese calligraph. So this is mine there. So the couple there help. That's very good. And also, who the yeah, Eileen, and who else? Yeah, The couple here, there's some Tin
Kim?
and Yon,
Yong?
right?
No.
Yeah, the couple, the
Dun?
Vietnamese. Huh?
Bun? I don't know.
Bom Yon, I don't know. Okay,
that's it?
so
Okay.
now we done the Auckland and the San Jose. We have another.
Goes to Gemma.
可以吗？
How long? Is it okay
Maybe
people
5
stay
minutes?
another 5 minutes? Well, this is 13 minutes. Oh, 5 minutes. Okay. Play. Okay.
Oh, memory service.
Here. You go here. There you go. Oh, that's fine. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, it's 5 more minutes.
So this
yeah.
is a movie. So
It's a movie.
movie.
Watch the movie. No commentary.
No sound?
I think, I don't know. Oh, sorry, this is so far from me. There we go.
This is
Okay, that's
who?
okay. Let's just give commentary. I think you guys to say what's happening.
Yeah, I
This
think
is the
Go
Hong made this movie. This is the Amitabha weekend we just had at CTB Berkeley Monastery. So people can get a chance. If you weren't here, you can see what it was like, and maybe in the future you can come participate. I was wrong. I'll put okay. Okay. So be careful with your ears right now. I'm going to turn it on to see what happens. No sound. Okay, that's fine. Oh. What's this? This is a memorial service?
Yeah.
This is a memorial service.
Yeah.
So I think this was when we had a big memorial service for all the recent people who passed away in this last month. I think we had about 5 people doing the memorial service together that day. That might be it. Oh, it's another section. mindfulness of the Buddha, mindfulness of the Sangha. Oh, it's last slide. Okay. Okay. Thank you for your patience. So we will do our transference of merit. Please flip to your last page of your, or your the second side of your requesting Dharma sheet. It says dedication of merit. For those who are new, the dedication of merit is a chance to. 没关系，我们就回向完再。Alan will add our musical accompaniment. So please find the dedication of merit sheet, and what we do is, in your heart, in your mind, send out the goodness to wherever you would like it to go. If you know somebody who's depressed and wish they would be content and happy, free of afflictions, you can do that. To all living beings, may they all be peaceful and happy and ultimately realize Buddhahood. So whatever you want to send your goodness out to, it's up to you. So this is the chance to do that. Every living being, our minds as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find in giving unity, may their minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light break the darkness of their endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. All stand up to bow to the Buddhas. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. Namo Da Fang Guang Fo Hua Yan Jing Hua Yan Nai Wei Fo Bu Sai. Namo Da Fang Guang Fo Hua Yan Jing Hua Yan Nai Wei O Busan.